Good evening. Welcome to Anjou. Have you dined with us before? No? Fabulous. We do things a little bit differently here. Sparkling water is free, but tap water is $3. All of our appetizers feed 6 people. They don't come any smaller. Substitutions are fine, but you have to ask in a baby's voice. You are allowed to kiss that signed picture of Toni Collette on the wall, but only if it is your birthday. If you're born on a leap year, you have to leave now. All of our butter is sourced from only the hottest cows, judged by a jury of their peers. The chickens vote by referendum. We are cashless and tipless, but the valet staff do appreciate old copies of Entertainment Weekly. If you have any allergies, please let me know. I'm amazing at keeping secrets. I'll be back in a second to take your orders.
TBTL!
In this brochure, it says this tour is crunk. What does that mean?
The beginning is horrible, also the middle, so I'll give it a 4.
First of all, I'd like to see the chef face to face. These are the best Cajun chicken niblets I've ever had.
Yeah, most people think I'm on drugs because I'm always happy.
Are you on drugs?
No, I'm not. I'm high on life.
If there's a better use for the internet, I haven't found it.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Monday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
When I eat hot Cheetos, I get crazy.
My name's Luke Burbank. I'm your host.
I just love hot Cheetos!
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia, where we're looking at kind of a cloudy day today.
Cloud fog.
It's all right, though. We had a beautiful weekend. We've been on a great run of weather, and it's going to get back to sunny stuff tomorrow. We can deal with one cloudy day here at the Madrona Hill studio that is not going to in any way negatively impact episode 4,714 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
Cloudy day might be a nice day to stay inside and, watch a movie. But if you think that the movies you've been seeing on, the streaming platforms and even in the theaters, if you think they look worse than they used to, you are not crazy.
To that end, we'd like a moment of your time to talk to you about video interpolation.
New York Times with a story today about why movies look worse than they used to look. And again, you're not hallucinating on that. It's really happening. I thought this might be a hallucination. The Mariners are winning games again.
The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd. That's right. Baseball's back.
And they're not the only TBTL-related baseball team that is having success. The Junior Sluggers, a.k.a. the Jalapenos, are doing well as well.
Kids and fantasy.
We'll read you the latest update from Coach Ben. Coming up on the show, but first we got to say hello to this guy, longest-running Cobra of the program, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships.
I'd like to grow a pair sometime.
He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. If there's any question about whether or not you engage in stolen valor, I'd like to let the listeners know that as we were dialing up, we only spent a couple of minutes kind of chatting today before the show. We didn't do a full unaired TBTL before rolling on the real TBTL like we sometimes do. But I just casually said, oh, yeah, you did that marathon this weekend. I want to hear about that. And you were very quick. I don't even think the words were fully out of my mouth when you said, I did not do the marathon. Becca did the marathon. I was there. I was support crew as I assumed maybe you were handing out orange slices. How did the whole thing go?
Well, I do want to mention that I had a tremendous amount of jealousy of everyone who was participating in the Eugene Marathon. Because, it's obviously a super intense process of training and getting ready for it, and you have to do all this sort of sacrifice. And then the reward is, it's probably not even actually running the marathon. The reward is being done with the marathon and kind of hobbling around with oftentimes friends and loved ones kind of giving you hugs and supporting you. And yes, you're not so much eating orange slices. You know what you're eating? I think in the bag they gave you afterwards, you're eating frosted animal cracker cookies.
Yeah, sure.
Anything to get some sugar in your system. And you're sort of dazed and confused, but satisfied. There is just this kind of, it's almost like Mr. Burns in that episode of The Simpsons that was a X-Files parody.
Oh, he's glowing.
He's kind of stoned and he's glowing and he's like, I come in love or whatever. You have strong Mr. Burns energy in that episode after you've run a marathon or a half marathon. And I'm very jealous of that because I've done it a couple of times, more half marathons than marathons. But so of course I was making a plan in my mind to train very hard and next year run in the Eugene Marathon. But that's a long way away. I haven't done it, so I wanted to make sure early on that you did not, on the show, accidentally refer to me as having run the marathon, because I did not do that. Becca did, though, and it was incredible. Incredible. So she was trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon. And there's so many people that want to run the Boston Marathon that you have to get a specific time based on your age and your gender. And because so many people keep trying to get into the Boston Marathon, they keep making it harder, the race organizers. So the time, I mean, like, for instance, for a guy my age, the time that I would have to do would be so far outside my abilities. Like, I will probably, and I'm being realistic there. I'm not, being humble. I don't think it's physically possible for me to qualify for the Boston Marathon. However, last year when Becca was running the same marathon, she missed the qualifying time by 1 minute.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I find it hard to believe that you think that you couldn't qualify. So when I'm at the gym, I can do like a 15-minute mile on the elliptical. That would get me in, right? If I could send those records.
It's a 14-minute mile.
No,
to get into Boston.
No,
yeah.
really?
Yeah. True story.
You're telling me I
mile.
couldn't get in? I got the what? Wait, hold on. I have it set to 10.
Have you read any David Goggins? Because I think if you were able to really lock in, if you're able to follow some of these riser and grinders on the internet like David Goggins,
does he have the Goggins goggles? I think I've heard about these.
If you were able to really lock in and realize pain is just weakness leaving the body, Andrew, I can't rule it out for you, but I can rule it out for myself. I don't, and I'm okay with that too. By the way, like, I run pretty frequently, and that's really something I guess I generally enjoy. Again, I enjoy being done with it, but I enjoy having it as part of my life. And I've been lucky that I'm in a physical body that works pretty well. I can deal with the fact that I'm just not going to be a person who's going to probably, unless I were to try it when I was like 75, because that's the whole thing. Each year, well, not each year, but each kind of section of years that you get older, the time gets easier. So there is a point at which if you're just able to like ambulate anymore, you're probably getting into the Boston Marathon. But I'm still many years away from that particular situation. But what I knew yesterday was it had been living in Becca's head for the last entire year that she had missed the Boston Marathon by 1 minute. Because last year she also thought she wasn't capable of almost qualifying, so she wasn't running the marathon with the intention of like, I'm going to try to qualify for this race. She was just running her fastest, and she ran really fast, and then learned later, oh, phooey, I missed that by a minute. I wish I would have been trying a little bit harder. It doesn't also help that like her brother Scott is a phenomenal runner and his wife Tiffany is a phenomenal runner, and they both ran in the Boston Marathon this year.
And rubbed it in her face, I assume.
Would not stop talking about their 14-minute miles. Just, I mean, honestly, to the point where we had to make some hard decisions about family holidays. Would we spend time with them or not? And her very good friend Kara, who's it turns out all of her friends are phenomenal runners. Her friend Kara ran the Boston Marathon this year, and I believe that was her 11th time running it. So there's a lot of people in her life who are, training for the Boston Marathon, thinking about it, going back there and doing it, and she's sitting around going, phooey, if I would have run 1 minute faster, I might have been able to do it. Now, there's another kind of detail to this story, to the idea of qualifying for the Boston Marathon, which I told you, Andrew, not only are they making the times faster, like that you have to run, but even if you hit the qualifying time, you don't get in. You need a buffer amount. So you have to not only run it technically fast enough that you could get in, but then you have to run it faster than that number. So all of the people who ran it exactly the number who aren't going to get in are behind you in line. Does that make sense? It's not a fixed... No. Yeah, right?
No, you asked me if it makes sense, and I'm actually having a little trouble following.
So, for instance, the time that Becca needed to run the marathon in order to qualify for Boston, 3 hours and 35 minutes. Now, to give you some comparison for that, when I ran the Green River Marathon many years ago, when the term eagle soaring first made its way into the TBTL lexicon, I believe I ran that marathon in 4 hours and like 10 or 15 minutes. I was passed by a guy who was barefoot. Mm-hmm. I was passed by a guy who was dressed like a monk, and his heavy felt robes had absorbed water throughout the race, so it was a guy running effectively in a weight suit.
Weren't you passed by a turtle on crutches? I remember that.
I was, and that hurt. It was Splooge the turtle. I got the last laugh on him.
Well, he had somewhere to be.
He sure did. He sure did. But so for instance, in order to qualify for Boston, based on her age and gender, she needed to run a 3 hour and 35-minute marathon. But that would also not actually get her into the race because so many people of her age and gender would run a 3-hour and 35-minute marathon this year that her time would actually, even though it qualified, she would still not get in. You have to get what's called a buffer time. She was trying to run it at 3 hours and 30 minutes so that she would actually get in because in
other words, you're not even going to be considered unless you're over a certain line. But, and I don't know what the numbers are. I'm going to make something up here. Let's say there's a chance that 70 people will make it over that line, but only 50 of them, there's only room for 50 of them. So it's going to be the best. So it's going to the best of the people that came above that time. Okay.
You've described it accurately.
Okay.
That's exactly how it is. There's 70 people in 50 spots.
Yeah. Okay.
So at a minimum, you have to do it at the time to even be in that group of 70 people, but 20 of them are not going to get in. They're going to go with the fastest 50 times.
Yeah, and it's going to be the fastest. It's not going to be a lottery or anything after that. It's just like the fastest who make it over that. Okay, yeah.
So she was, she was really trying to do it in 3 hours and 35 minutes, which would have been her fastest marathon time ever. But she was trying to do it in 3 hours and 30 minutes because that would be buffer time. That would be based on, she asked, I think it was like ChatGPT, what carbs she should eat in the week leading up to the race as a person who doesn't eat a lot of carbohydrates. She eats extremely clean and mostly fruits and vegetables, and was like, this is when you know someone is a healthy eater or a clean eater, as they say. She had to turn to the internet to figure out what carbs. I was like, honey, I got a whole list. I got all kinds of carb ideas for you. She was trying to eat carbs that weren't going to mess with her system because as a person who doesn't do that a lot, she didn't want to just eat a bunch of stuff that was then going to, make her kind of feel, not great on the run.
And also, because I think about this a lot, they're running these promos. I'm sure you've seen them. I've only sort of half paid attention to them, but during Mariners games, they're playing something called Plate at the Plate or something where they're talking to baseball players and I think chefs from around the league or whatever.
I see that in heavy rotation, usually muted while I'm
same deal. I'm not paying tons of attention to them, but one of them is a montage of players in the locker room kind of saying what they eat. Somebody's asking them well, what do you eat before the game or whatever? And it just got me thinking about that. A lot of them are just steak. I don't eat anything but steak. Others are I eat whatever. I eat a big pasta meal or whatever. And I think about that. I know that you want some carbohydrates because you want the energy that you're then going to burn them off, and when you're an athlete at that level, it's totally different than what carbohydrates mean to somebody like me, which really is taken care of in the Arby's parking lot for the most part. But anyway, I think about that a lot. I'm kind of you need that fuel, but also when does that fuel become we have too much, we have too much gas. We have to let some gas out of this plane. Otherwise we're riding too low.
I remember being in high school and we were the Jesus Creek basketball team. We had a big game coming up and we had heard about carb loading. I think even maybe our coach, Mr. Collard, had said, make sure you get some carbs and everything. And so we went to the mummy's house and ordered 15 Little Caesars pizzas and ate them and played absolute dog shit the next day. And I remember Coach Collard hearing about, after we'd lost the game, hearing about, we were we ate a lot of pizza last night. I was like, what is wrong with you?
Right. Exactly.
So you want to avoid that kind of scenario.
Exactly.
Okay, so my job was basically to act as chauffeur because we had to get to the race in Eugene very early on Sunday morning so that she could pick up her bib, her racing bib, the number that they assign you. But Becca didn't want to sleep in Eugene at a hotel because, well, frankly, having to share a bed with me and my snoring and whatever would have led to not great sleep. Yeah. So we went to her childhood home in Salem, Oregon. And we stayed. She slept in her childhood bedroom. I slept in her brother Scott's childhood bedroom.
Were you jealous? Did she's I'm not going to sleep with you tonight, but she goes in her childhood bedroom where she has pictures of
dolls
old
and
flames and
notes that are scented with Eternity by Calvin Klein from her 8th grade boyfriends.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough night for me.
Yeah, I understand.
Just in the jealousy department. It was kind of interesting because I've already mentioned that she comes from this family of like elite runners. Her dad had a love of running and instilled it in the children. And I'm in her brother's bedroom, and literally like this is untouched since he was, in 12th grade and moved out to go to college or whatever. And it's just full of like racing medals and pictures of Steve Prefontaine. There's like 8 Steve Prefontaine posters in there. He was a famous American runner and ran at the University of Oregon. He's a legend down there in Eugene and a legend in Becca's family. I was like, well, maybe I could run the marathon. I don't know. I feel pretty inspired by the decor.
I do feel like, you know what? Is there a chance that Becca just set this whole thing up just to knock you down a peg? Like running the full marathon,
I think it's obvious.
Hey, we're gonna put you in the trophy room before you escort us. I'm not. I hope. By the way, I hope my teasing is.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
no
look who you're
taken.
talking to. Yes,
but so we got up. We had to get up crazy early and then drive down to Eugene and so she'd get this stuff or whatever, and then it's time for her to run the race, and then I'm just kind of like hanging out, watching, because they have these really great systems now, on the website where you can track the person's progress, like down to the quarter mile, if that, like you can see them along the route. There's all these, they're called splits, which is basically like the times that they're running, averaging for every mile.
Can you see it on a map, like waiting for a lift?
Yeah, you can see that. You can see it that way. You can see it just as a sort of like a string of numbers. There's all these different ways that you can kind of follow somebody who's doing the race. And what I knew is that she was trying to be very like, hey, we'll just see how it goes. She was like in fact, when we were on Saturday night, we were talking to her other brother Jeff and his wife Darcy, and she was like, what's your time that you're going for? And she was like, oh, I don't know. Like she was trying to I think she was trying to, even in her own mind, not set up a sort of an expectation that was maybe not going to happen and then be disappointing or whatever. So she was trying to do this thing called like the 10-10-10 kind of rule of running a marathon, which is the first 10 miles you run at a pace that puts you on target for your time, but is not overly fast. Like you want to make sure that you're not using up all that gas in the tank early. And then the middle 10 miles, and yes, these are tens of miles. This is how insane running a marathon is. First 10 miles, you run it at a particular pace. Second 10 miles, you run it a little faster. And then the last 10 kilometers, you just gun it. You just run as fast as you can. And the idea is that way you don't bonk, as they call it. You don't run too fast, too early, and you're doing great, and then all of a sudden you're getting passed by a guy with bare feet, as I was. Or getting approached and somebody else going, hey, are you the guy that hosts TBTL, as you're walking in the 25th mile of the marathon, which is also a thing that happened to me. Quite embarrassing. So I'm watching her, though, and she's going way too fast in the first 10. She was supposed to be running 8-minute 15-second miles at the fastest. It was the fastest she was supposed to be running. She's running like 7 minutes, 59 seconds. And I'm like, I'm sitting in this.
And she knows this, right? She has a watch or something that is tracking exactly these stats, so she knows it.
She knows this. She has a watch that is very much tracking this, and she is choosing to completely fly in the face of our agreement about her 10-10-10 project. And I'm sitting in this restaurant called, this grocery store called Market of Choice that's near the starting line.
Such an interesting name.
You would love this place. Actually, I don't know if you would love this place. They've got them in Portland too. It's kind of like it's a local chain here in Oregon. I don't know how many locations they have, but it's definitely higher end. Mm-hmm. I was going to say you would love it, but I don't know. I don't know if you love a high end grocery store or if you like more a grocery store of the people.
I think I'm more of the people. Like I don't like going into. Well, first of all, I just like my generic brand. Not generic, but I like the brands, like common American brands or whatever. So I don't like
Clorox.
I like
Trojan.
I like my Clorox produce. I love my dairy has to be Exxon.
Trojan baked goods.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, I do. I go to various stores for various things, but I don't really find myself if I'm visiting somebody. Like I think I might have. I feel like I'd remember the name Market of Choice because that is a terrible name. But I feel like I was visiting my friends in Portland one time, and they took me into a nice grocery store, and I think I like to
could have been
visit.
Market of Choice.
It might have been, right? Yeah.
So there was one down the street from the. I also got. Oh my gosh, Andrew! I got the world's best parking spot. I was like, maybe I just live here now because I don't know how many people. It's a huge number of people participate in this marathon, and then a even huger number of people bring them to the marathon / make signs / are in kind of support roles. So we're driving. It's 6 a.m. now, and they stop giving out the bibs at 6:15 a.m. So it's kind of it's a critical moment here. And what I'm trying to do is get the closest I can to, I think it's Hayworth Field is the name of this field at the University of Oregon where they're giving out the bibs, where the finish line of the race is, et cetera. And you can see there's this, the stadium itself is sort of tall. It kind of looms over the campus. And we're just trying to get close to it, but all the roads are closed at a certain point, and there's people in, orange vests. And so the goal is to get as close as I can. And we hit upon a closed road where there's no one guarding it, and the barriers are not fully blocking the road to the degree that so you can get a car past them. Somebody has not done an effective job of setting up the closed road barrier there, so you could get a Mazda CX-5 past it. And my plan is to just drive down to the end of this closed road, because at the end of the road is literally the stadium. So I'm going to drive down, I'm going to drop Becca off, then I'm going to go find parking, and then we're going to rendezvous. So I drive down to the end of this road. She jumps out, and then I look to my left, and there's a parking lot. Because, again, we're on the college campus, and there's like the whatever building. I don't know. We'll call it the physics building or something. And I look, and there's just cars are parked. I can tell these are all people running the race, right? They all have like 26.2 bumper stickers on their car. They're all driving Subarus that have 26.2 on the thing.
Yes.
We were playing a game driving back yesterday where it was like, oh, those people were doing the marathon. Oh, those people were driving north on I-5. So
I got one of those bumper stickers that says 2.
Yeah. Well, it should have said 26.5 because it turns out the Eugene Marathon was long, which happens, Andrew. They measured it slightly incorrectly so that it was 26.5 miles.
Oh, my God.
Instead of 26.2.
And when are the services going to be held for the person who made that mistake?
I mean, Becca was handling it with aplomb. I was like, that's dirty. Yeah. Like, first of all, that's effective. That's essentially
does that affect the time of getting into the Boston Marathon?
For some people, absolutely. It's an extra, let's see, 0.3 of a mile, which is almost one entire loop around a track. A loop around a running track is 1/4 of a mile, right? It's 100 meters, and then you do 400 meters is a mile. Wait, do I have that right? Anyway, it's almost a full loop. 0.3 of a mile is almost a full extra loop around that track, which is not nothing at all when you're talking about these times. Okay, so back to my parking. I pull into this lot, and at the very end of the lot, like far from prying eyes, is one parking spot. And I pull in there, and I'm like, I can't believe this happened. I'm like a 2-minute walk from where the start of the race is. So I left the car there. I was like, I'm not moving this. That's why I was on foot. That's why I was walking over to Market of Choice, and et cetera. So I'm sitting in Market of Choice. I'm eating some scrambled eggs. I told you I'm a scrambled egg guy now.
No, you didn't. Did you?
Well, I started going to the Alaska Airlines lounge at the airport before my flights in the morning when it's a morning flight. And I actually get to the airport early for this now. They always have scrambled eggs. I weirdly love those chafing dish. You get them at the hotel as well. If you're not being yelled at by Chapel Roan security, that kind of brick of scrambled eggs that's in the chafing dish. I don't know why. I love that.
I like them because they remind me of being on a trip or something like that, but they're a little dry though, right?
Totally. They have nothing going for them in the cuisine department except I've got a weird soft spot for them. It pleases me to eat them. So I go into Market of Choice, and they're shutting down their breakfast buffet thing or whatever, but they still had a brick of nobody else wanted those scrambled eggs except me. So I sawed off a piece of them, and I'm sitting in their little kind of kitchen, whatever you call it, dining room area, and I'm watching Becca on the phone, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. She's running the first 10 faster than 8 minutes and 15, and I'm just like, this is not sustainable. The heat shield is gonna fail on this. And then I'm walking back over to the stadium because my goal was, it's very cool. You get to finish this race in this very hallowed track field. Hayworth Field is one of the most sort of important, beloved track locations. They call Eugene Track Town. The University of Oregon has had this phenomenal, because they got all this Nike money. I mean, honestly, you want to talk about stolen valor. This is my feeling on the athletics at the University of Oregon. It's real nice when your daddy buys you everything. They have Phil Knight, the Nike founder, as their patron, and so everything there is top notch, including the field. But I wanted to get in. I wanted to be at the finish line. I wanted to film her coming into the stadium and running down this straightaway and then going through the finish line. So I go over to the field, and what I realize is there's already like everyone had the same idea as me. There's so many people clustered in this one part of the stadium, which is the finish line. And so what I have to do is wait for someone whose loved one is slightly faster than Becca to finish. And then they get up and move. And then there are seats that are empty. And then I go to the like very back row. And then someone else moves, and then I go down like one row. And I'm just, over the course of an hour, working my way down to the rail, to the absolute, like, sitting there on the sideline. And the whole time I'm watching her on the phone, and I'm just like, please do not bonk. Like, now she's at like mile 15, and she's running even faster than she's at mile 17. And she's at mile 20, and now she's in her 10K, the final 10K, where she's supposed to just be running her fastest, and she is. And these are called reverse splits. This is when, like, you run a race where you run the second half faster than the first half. It's called a reverse split. And I'm just like, now I'm just being like, seriously, she's at mile 24, and she's totally on target to qualify. And I'm like, please don't get diarrhea. Please, from those carbs you ate. From that.
Oh, I thought you were talking to yourself.
Oh, too late.
Mm-hmm.
Far too late. Already had it. Did a real paint job at the Market of Choice bathroom. I'm just like, please don't twist an ankle, because I can see that she is now at the point where like this is going to happen for her, as long as there is not some sort of exogenous event, as long as there's not some sort of like crazy, I don't know what, again, she trips or someone runs into her or she has some sort of stomach discomfort or whatever.
They call that the Stouffer steamer, by the way.
Yeah, precisely.
Carbo-loaded on Stouffer's.
So she is, I'm watching this and I'm just like, and I'm getting emotional. Like I'm crying because like I know how hard she worked for this. And I'm just like, I'm not even running the race, but I'm just looking at these little numbers and I'm just like, and then I'm like, I'm going to make the video when she comes, but I'm going to yell for her, but I got to not cry when I'm yelling in the video, because I don't want that. I don't like that committed to history here on TBTL, and I definitely don't want it on the video of her running. So I'm like, I'm sitting there in the stands, and I'm like hyping myself up to make this. I'm making practice videos. This felt very Andrew of me, actually, because I had a lot of time to kill, by the way. I was sitting in that stadium for like 2+ hours, and I'm pretend filming other people so that I know kind of like how zoomy do I want it to be at this point, and then how do I pull back? I still, by the way, kind of screwed it up. There's like a 5 seconds of the footage where I'm still trying to zoom the camera back, and I'm kind of screwing it up in the final thing. But I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm feeling all these emotions. I'm not even the one running, but I just like, I just understood how much this meant to her. So anyway, not only did she qualify for Boston, not only did she buffer, she ran it in like 3 hours and 27 minutes. Like she beat like she beat every possible kind of like goal that she would have even had for herself. Like, it was incredible. So now I got to go to Boston next year is the bad part of this story.
Mm-hmm. Well, also now she's got a taste for carbs.
Good.
Welcome aboard,
dude.
Becca.
I know. She sent me home with so many carbs. She sent me home with so many carbs. So it was actually pretty funny, because she eats a very, very, again, vegetable and fruit-based diet, does not eat a ton of carbs, bought a bunch of carbs for this thing, ate what I still thought was not very many of them, and then sent me home with like a bunch of, I had English muffin pizza. I'm carb loading for 2 now.
Yeah.
She sent me home with all this white bread, all this pasta. She sent me home with all of the stuff that she didn't consume in the carb department, because now she's back off of that for another year or something. But free carbs for me, so that's pretty sick.
When you eat pasta, what am I doing? When you eat pasta,
we got to start with that tomorrow.
Yeah, we have.
I love that.
That's my Fred Armisen. I don't know if it probably doesn't sound like it coming out of my mouth, but there's this one drop, and we'll play it tomorrow, of him talking. He's reading some diet book, and he's learning that carbs might not be the best thing for a middle-aged man to overconsume.
From Portlandia, they're deciding to rule them out. But then he also,
when you eat pasta.
But he, in classic Fred Armisen form in that show, at least with those 2 characters, he's coming in with, I believe it's his idea to stop eating pasta.
No,
but then,
I think it's
is it hers?
Oh, well, I only know this tape. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want to play the beginning.
I can hear it twice.
When you eat pasta.
When you eat pasta.
I think that's him. I think that's his spiel where he's basically saying, like, pasta is bad for you, and he's saying we're not eating pasta anymore. But then when Carrie Brownstein's character starts naming different kinds of pasta they're not going to eat,
I see.
He's traumatized by learning that he can't have any of these pastas.
And she
like
starts
even
throwing them all out in front of him, I believe.
Basically. But anyway, yeah. So congrats to Becca for qualifying for the Boston Marathon. It was a very exciting, inspirational Sunday in Eugene. Speaking of inspirational athletic events, Andrew, we got a quick update here from the TBTL Junior Sluggers, our Little League Baseball team that we are the sponsors of. Coach Ben updating us on the latest. He says, when I last reported, your TBTL Junior Sluggers, a.k.a. the Parkside Jalapenos, were 1-3, struggling to find their groove early in the season. I'm proud to report the groove has been found.
Did he spell groove?
No, he spelled it groove.
Okay.
I
just wasn't sure how deep into the TBTL
the lore into the
Fred.
And by the way, another Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen, exactly. It's like a groove.
It's more of a groove.
Mm-hmm.
On Thursday, April 23rd, we took on the Parkside Canned Corn, a team that undeniably has the best name in Little League. That's the team, Andrew, that is a really, really fast line drive ball into Cal Raleigh's mid.
Did you hear the discipline emanating from my side of the microphone when you said?
And did you hear the non-discipline coming from me?
Not.
It's because I'm hepped up on carbs this morning.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was very proud of myself, though.
I can confirm that they are a singular canned corn, a la the Miami Heat or Seattle Kraken. Oh, I see. That was a shots fired at.
Like not.
I believe not
canned
good.
Corn. No. I think it's a singular canned corn, not the canned corns. Like it's not the Krakens or the Heats.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you you're exactly right. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Kraken were so bad last year, I thought that Coach Ben was taking a shot at the hockey team I don't care about, and I thought that was weird. You're absolutely right. Singular. The Jalapenos, who are plural, took the field under low, dark clouds. But while the weather was cold, our bats brought the heat. But in a weather that was cold, could a podcast bring the heat?
I was thinking of that.
We jumped out early with 3 runs in the first. Amos, Armani, Atlas, Nico, Ollie, and Fox all reached base with key RBIs from Zaya and Crosby.
Nice. All right, good.
Amos got the start and delivered a strong 2 2/3 innings. Coach Ben will get that right some way. 2.2 innings. The canned corn featured a dangerous lineup, scrappy, high OPB hitters mixed with a few power bats. Amos navigated it like a seasoned mariner. Not Brian Wu, but, like a seasoned mariner who's having a good game. Although, listen, I don't hold that against Brian Wu. We got the W.
He's amazing.
And he's incredible. He's allowed to have one bad game every now and again. That was insane, by the way. David came down. Remember my brother David and
that's
his
right.
family were staying over.
With you, yeah.
And he just came downstairs from taking a shower or from getting his stuff ready as we were all leaving on Saturday morning. And he said, there's something in the jet stream out there. And this is when it was just like 4-2. Mm-hmm. It would prove to be
it was long bombs away.
It was long bombs away. You ever do a Grand Slammer? From there, it became a battle of pitching, and more impressively, in the second, the Jalapenos kept the pressure on, adding 3 more runs. Victor, Zaya, and Armani drew walks and were driven in by singles from Amos and Crosby. From there, it became a battle of pitching, and more impressively, defense. Amos kept piling up strikeouts, and the fielders backed him up with sharp, consistent play. Do you remember, Andrew, that even though the Jalapenos lost recently, Coach Ben said they put together their most complete game?
Yes, I do remember that.
He was seeing that the various sort of facets of the game were coming together for this team, and this appears to be the case. I'm going to claim a little credit here to combat the 7 p.m. Zoomies. I've started handing out gum in the 3rd inning.
This is interesting. So gum, should I do this with Lucy the puppy? Give her gum to kind of work out
considering.
The zoomies?
Actually, don't. The listeners will not like that.
I'm joking.
Here's the thing. Gum, you know how it stays in your system for 7 years? It stays in her system for 7 times 7 years.
That's right, 49 years.
She will eventually leave this dog park to go to the great dog park in the sky with gum in her guts if you give it to her now.
By the way, I just want to defend Coach Ben a little bit here. The 2.3 or 2.2, you'd never say 2.3. That's how you would mark a stat.
Okay.
Yeah, in the stats.
I've just never seen it. I've never seen it written. And so I have only heard baseball announcers go, he went 6 1/3.
Sure, and that makes sense.
Or he went 6 2/3. So this is really my lack of ability to read numbers. Because, it means the same thing, and I'm sure that that's how it's written. I've never seen it written. Okay. So let's see. I've started handing out gum in the 3rd inning. Just enough sugar to keep the brains engaged. I've also introduced performance incentives. I was worried he was going to write performance enhancers, which is early.
Yeah,
Coach Ben, let them get to high school before they start. Performance incentives, for example, an outfield fly ball catch earns a Gatorade.
All right.
Does this rise to the level of the New Orleans Saints Bountygate scandal? Let's hope not. Yeah. Let's keep this in check, Coach Ben, but I do like that. An outfield fly ball catch at this age, that's tough. That's tough to do. You know what I mean? I remember being about this age and maybe catching my first ball in the outfield and being kind of shocked that it happened. Almost like looking at the ball in my mitt, being like, did it just actually stay in my mitt? Like, that is not a given at all that you'll be catching balls in the outfield.
And when's the last time you even did it? You said at that age it's tough. I was going to say, when's the last time you did it as an adult? But actually, I might have an answer on that. Only you weren't using a mitt. You were using a goofy net or something, because I was there. We were working on Ross and Burbank. You were Burbank. Dave Ross was Ross. I was the producer. And we did a show, a live broadcast from, was it T-Mobile Park then, or whatever it was called at the time, Safeco Field, and you guys were broadcasting, but you were also honored by pre-game fun times, right?
Yes.
Didn't you go out there with literally a fishing net or something to catch?
They gave us a variety of objects. I believe a fishing net was one of them. I think maybe I had my mitt at one point.
I thought seriously
maybe
thought
it was
they
just
took your mitt away. I think you
maybe
brought
they
a
took
mitt
my
and
mitt
they
away.
were
I
just
think I brought a mitt
no.
and they confiscated it.
Yeah, exactly.
What they were doing is they were shooting balls out of the jug machine.
Yeah.
That thing that's like the 2 tires that you can use for pitching baseballs. You can also use a different version of it for throwing footballs or, doing things like that. This was used to throw, but they weren't real baseballs. They were soft. I think they were worried we would get hurt, and probably rightfully so. So they shot these soft little baseball things up into the air as if it was a fly ball, and we were catching them. And of course, because I can never just do something like a normal person, I seem to remember running and catching the ball, or maybe missing the ball, but then doing a somersault, diving and doing a somersault. I don't know if I had the ball with me or if I had dropped the ball, but I've always got to, when we played the Harlem Globetrotters, me and Dave. Boy, Dave and I had a lot of athletic adventures for 2 guys hosting a talk radio show.
Yeah.
And we played the Globetrotters, and again, I couldn't just, when they called my name, I couldn't just run out and high five some people. I ran out and I, jumped up and grabbed the net and, climbed up on the rim. I'm a real piece of work out there, honestly. Anyway, back to the Sluggers. Crosby immediately cashed in. This is on the Gatorade situation, hauling in a towering fly ball to center. Amos added a highlight of his own, snagging a line drive and doubling off a runner for a clean double play.
Whoa.
That is amazing. The only thing harder than catching a fly ball out there in the outfield is catching a line drive and then turning 2 at second. That's incredible.
Here's what surprises me.
Okay.
These sluggers, these junior sluggers, they've been playing with the team for a while now, right? And they're in an older division than they were last year. And
kid pitch now.
Yeah, exactly. And so I know, and I'm being serious about this, and you can insert anybody in here. I'm not trying to kind of take these particular kids down a notch at all. That's not my role as one of their biggest supporters financially and emotionally. But it's interesting to incentivize with Gatorade to say, if you catch, a towering fly ball, then you get a Gatorade, because these kids already want to catch that ball more than anything, right?
Well,
I can see a Gatorade, if you run an extra lap, in practice, if you run an extra lap, then you get it.
I just think it's weird that only certain kids get to hydrate.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. I was sort of thinking that.
If you strike out, you go to the sauna.
The rest of you, I'm giving you a spoonful of cinnamon. But if you catch the fly ball, then you get water or
you're
Gatorade.
allowed to have water.
Yes.
You're allowed to have electrolytes. There is I haven't gotten eyes on the. I wanted to watch the Sluggers on Saturday, but I was actually going to a track meet, not the thing in Eugene, but Becca's nephew Alexander runs track for his school, Lincoln High School in Portland, and we went to his track meet in Portland, and so I missed the Sluggers. I have not gotten eyes on them, but what I can tell you is, last year they were still at the age where occasionally you would get what I call a spinner.
Okay.
You get a kid in the outfield who's just kind of spinning around.
Okay. All right.
Maybe throwing their mitt in the air and seeing how many times they can spin before it comes down.
Which I like.
We may have aged out of that.
Can I incentivize that?
Yeah. I'm going to get you a zero sugar Powerade if you stop spinning in the outfield,
From
Andrew.
24-hour fitness next to the old SPK.
That's right. R.I.P.
Yeah.
By the way, full-on Seattle Times article about SPK going away.
I didn't see the Times today.
Over the weekend.
Over the weekend. Oh.
But, all right, so let's see. A clean double play. Strong plays followed all over the field, with the Jalapenos consistently making the routine and occasionally spectacular look easy. Zaya came in for relief with 2 outs in the third and was dominant. 4 strikeouts over 1.1 innings with no hits or runs allowed. Final score, game called due to time limit, but we don't care about that, Andrew.
Okay.
Jalapenos 6, canned corn 3.
Nice. Okay.
Very nice.
This is very good. So now, I don't know how many games they played this weekend, but at this point in the narrative, we are 2-3, correct?
That's right. That's right. Hustle pins to Zaya, Atlas, and Tommy. Now,
congrats, guys.
Yeah, way to go. Now, longtime TBTL listeners may recall that last year's squad went 2-14. I take modest pride in reporting that this year's Jalapenos have already matched that win total.
Absolutely.
And we're only a third of the way through the season. Do I dare? Exactly. They're doing the 10-10-10 plan for the Jalapenos. I'm watching it on my phone. Do I dare dream bigger? Could we do the unthinkable and win 2 games in a row? Can a broken-hearted coach love again? The answer, my friends, is yes. On Saturday morning, the Jalapenos faced the Parkside Pickles. I like that both of these teams, if they're in my fridge, Andrew, they're on the same shelf of the fridge.
You're talking about the jalapenos, or you're
and
not...
the pickles.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the canned corn. I'm like, that can go in the cupboard, but we have a lot of
That's
food
a cupboard
stuff.
thing.
Yeah.
But don't you think the pickles and the jalapenos? Don't you have a shelf of your fridge that's things in jars?
I can't talk about
I
cannot talk about my refrigerator, Luke. It is so triggering for me. It's not my refrigerator. It's
right.
It's a shared refrigerator.
Do you get the downstairs refrigerator when the downstairs kind of area is all done?
Refrigerator is mostly like beverages and stuff, and I do keep that kind of tidy. But I mean, again, it's not terrible right now, but like any ideas or rules that I have for the refrigerator, like it just doesn't apply. Don't worry about it. If there's not an open jar of jelly in there, let's call it a good day.
I've got something going on in my fridge that would drive you crazy, which is there's one of the glass, shelves. Mm-hmm. It's the one where I keep, I guess, what do I keep on there? Like canned beverages. Although again, I don't do very much in the club soda department, but I'm definitely, as you can tell, got quite a Fresca habit going these days.
Oh yeah, nice.
That shelf, somebody must have spilled something. It's not like super. There's just basically like a little film there. What I need to do is pull all the cans out. I need to spray it down. Actually, pull the shelf out, put it in the sink, let it warm up,
and pray that you don't break it.
It's refrigerated.
That's one of the things I'm always so scared about breaking, because replacing a
where do you
glass
get that refrigerator?
You could probably go to the fridge maker's website or something and buy it. But I think they're really expensive, and they're made of glass. But it takes so much to get yourself to do it.
Yes.
Like for me, that's one of those tasks that I never say, okay, on Saturday I'm going to clean the fridge. For me, it's one of those things where I see it getting worse and worse. And then finally, like, I'll be in the middle of something. It'll be the worst time possible. And then I'll just be like, you know what? I can't take this anymore. And then next thing you know, you've just pulled everything out of the refrigerator and you're soaking the drawers or whatever.
I need to do that. And maybe I'll do that before I go out of town this week. But all right, back to Saturday morning, the Jalapenos facing the Parkside Pickles. What followed was one of the most complete and satisfying games I've ever coached. Some games are chaos. Everything goes right for one team and wrong for the other. I've been on the wrong end of those and will be again. But for one glorious morning, the Jalapenos could do no wrong. Wow. Crosby got the start, and after giving up a couple of early hits, locked in, striking out 5 over 2 innings. The defense stayed sharp, highlighted by a textbook fielder's choice at second between Victor and Atlas.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Slappy.
Pretty good. At the plate, the Jalapenos were relentless. Every hitter showed discipline, laying off bad pitches and punishing strikes. I call that a Ref Schneider, Andrew. You know I've been a long-time Ref Schneider stan on this show.
I feel bad for people. I feel bad for people who talked anything negative about him.
I know. Thank God I'm on the right side of history.
What would those people be saying today if they had
they'd be
a podcast?
They'd be reading you a report about how the Jalapenos did. Every hitter showed discipline. The first inning featured walks by Armani, T-Bone, Atlas, Ollie, and Fox. Doubles by Amos and Zaya. And a true triple by Crosby. That's the hardest part of hitting for the cycle, Andrew. I always say that. Yeah. We kept rolling in the second with more
Crosby
walks.
we know that Crosby was not born on third, right?
No. He was, and he thought he hit a triple. That's tough.
I just want to make sure.
Tough.
Let's just check those birth certificates.
We kept it rolling in the second with more walks, a single by Atlas, and a ground rule double by Crosby. Wow, denied a home run only by physics and the fence.
That is,
it's a pretty,
fundamental.
Yeah,
part
exactly.
Of missing a home run, I guess. Yeah.
Again, what I'm hearing is that Crosby is working his way towards the cycle. He's got the triple and the double.
Okay.
After 2 innings, we led 10-1 without recording a single out, thanks to the 5-run per inning rule. So get a load of that. We were basically, scoring so much per inning that we just had to end the inning. We weren't even getting out.
Wow, so it's like a mercy rule for the inning, but not the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
not
like
the
that.
game.
Don't know if I like
you
that.
You can only do 5 runs in an inning, it turns out. A silver, let's see.
How come I've never heard of this rule when we're on the losing side of things? Why is this a new rule that they're introducing when our jalapenos are suddenly clicking?
Yeah. Because they can't handle our shine.
Yeah, right.
They got to try to bring us down. By the third, the wheels had come off for the Pickles. Been there, not fun. We added 5 more runs on 8 walks and 1 hit. A silver lining of the lopsided score. Valuable reps for our newer players. Victor, for example, got his first experience pitching without the pressure of the game on the line.
Nice. That's
Final
cool.
score. Jalapenos 15, Andrew. Pickles 3.
Wow.
Mercy rule after 4. We played an extra inning for reps.
Oh, nice.
This one was decided early. Hustle pins for Ollie, Victor, and Zaya. Your TBTL Junior Sluggers are now 3-3. They are back to 500 and heating up this week. 3 games in 4 days, holding rematches with the Parkside Scorpions and Vipers, plus a showdown with a Hollywood Rose City squad. Are we rolling? Are we dangerous? Are we slightly overconfident? Time will tell. Coach Ben out.
Absolutely. Why is everything? I swear, man, we have the Mariners, the Royals, and the TBTL Junior Sluggers are all like they're tied together karmically. I feel like they struggle at the same time and they put it together at the same time. I'm very excited for all 3 of these teams.
I mean, it's a good Monday in baseball town for
really
us.
is.
It's going to be complicated next few days because, as you pointed out today, Andrew, it's the what did you call it?
The Criminals Cup.
It's the Criminals. It's the Criminals Cup, right? Which is when the Seattle Mariners play the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah.
And wow. Sorry, came in a little hot there. I really need I need to start playing 5 seconds of The Replacements, maybe, or some other Minnesota-based outfit.
Yeah, right.
But our team is playing the Twins, and we love the Twins, and we love the people of the Twin Cities, particularly our friend the Stewbot. So, and both teams are still a bit under 500. And again, it's like I want the Mariners to win, but I don't want anything to ever make our friend the Stewbot. By the way, the writer behind Midwest Excellence, a phenomenal Substack that I highly recommend everyone check out. I don't want the Stewbot to ever feel sadness, or any of our friends in the Twin Cities. So it's a tough few days because somebody is going to be happy and somebody is going to be sad.
Yeah, that is true. But I would prefer to be happy.
Yeah. Stu is saying that it's absolutely raining like cats and dogs out there. He said that basically the game will either be canceled or it will be played at 9:30 p.m. local time, which is when he wants to watch his Minnesota T-Wolves.
And are we in a playoff situation in basketball now?
Yes, the NBA playoffs are happening, and the Wolves are.
You scared me. Timberwolves are NBA, right?
They sure are.
Okay,
they sure
okay.
Are.
You scared me.
And
I get some basketball and hockey teams confused.
Well, I can see why. The Timberwolves and then the Minnesota Wild, I believe, is the hockey team.
Isn't there another hockey team that is also the Wolves or something though? Not from Minnesota.
I am so bad with the NHL. I don't know much about it, but yeah, it's going to be. I'm with you, Stu. We love you. At least Stu has basketball to fall back on.
Yes,
we don't even have that
true,
in Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have an NBA team at the very least.
Yeah.
So, and that remains kind of a question mark. So, anyway, we'll see how the week goes. But yeah, the Mariners seem to be getting it together. Like they won a couple of games. Well, particularly the game where they kept the one where David said the jet stream. It's crazy.
Yeah, that
game was wild.
Game. Yeah, we just kept going. Well, no, that's the Minnesota Wild. That's a hockey team.
And the Savannah Bananas.
And
when the Wild play the Savannah Bananas, those games are wild and bananas.
That's right. And, of course, when the Tacoma Bonkers take the field.
Do we know someone who works for the Tacoma Bonkers? They want us to come down and throw out a pitch?
They want us to throw out the first bonk. But yeah, I can't remember what you were saying. But I am very proud of our Seattle Mariners. Oh, you were starting to say that game. They were going back and forth and back and forth. Like, I think that was the Woo game, right? I'm kind of getting them all confused.
Yeah, it was the Woo game.
Our pitcher, who's usually like literally one of the best in the league. Just had
Herb or Flinger
had an uncharacteristically bad day, and he gave up like 3 runs or something in the first inning or two, and then but then the Mariners battled back. Not a team known for its offense, and then we just kept going back and forth with the Cardinals, just like homer, and I'm sort of like listening to the radio while I'm dealing with kind of puppy stuff and Genevieve and having friends swing by or whatever, and so I wasn't following every single stroke of that game, but my God, they were flying out of the yard.
There's something to releasing desire, I think, Andrew, because basically we, Becca and I rolled up to the high school track to watch Alexander's meet, and it was right when, so the Mariners had climbed back, I believe, to maybe tie it 7-7, and then gave up a 2-run home run to the St. Louis Cardinals. And I was like, well, that game's over. I can turn my phone off. I can put it in my pocket, and I can just go watch this track meet. And it was almost like I was, of course, not happy they were losing, but I was happy that I could stop emotionally investing in the game, right? I was just, well, coming back to a 7-7 tie, that was quite a feat. That was pretty amazing. But you give up a 2-run home run here, and that's the game's probably over. So I did. I put my phone in my pocket, and I went about my day. And then when the track meet was over, as we're walking back to the car, I just opened it up, and I've just got all these text messages from my mom, from the criminals. And I was like, I was shocked that we managed to come back and win that game. Yeah. So, it's good times in baseball town, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man. Razzle-dazzle.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle-dazzle.
All right, let's thank some dazzling donors. These are the folks supporting TBTL with their voluntary donation of dough. This is 100% listener supported, what's going on here, and then we're able to use those resources to make this our job and also to sponsor Little League teams. And we're very thankful and very grateful for Carolyn Carlin. I was pausing there, Andrew, because I was reading Carolyn's name, and then I was reading Carolyn's pronouncer for her name, and then I was worried I was saying it wrong, but I was saying it right the whole time.
You were saying it right. I worried about that a little bit, too, because it almost looks like the Carolyn gives an explanation of how to say her first name, but then also gives an explanation of how not to say it. And so, therefore, the not saying it was a little bit more emphasized than the proper saying, and I meant to change that for you in the copy. My apologies.
We can say things or not say things for hours.
God,
Andrew, on this show.
Hey, I was going through some old emails today. That's not true. I was searching for an email. I don't know if you ever do this. You're looking for something, but you've had the same email for 20 years or whatever. And so when you search for something, your net will accidentally grab other interesting things, like just some random email that I had to send like our bosses at 8 p.m. for some sort of like a brag rag or something, like what are things you're working on? I kind of forgot when we have to do that. And I think one of the things on the list was that we were going to start like trying to identify and clip like really good moments from TBTL, things that could be highlight it in some way, or we could just use as some sort of just sort of an informal reel when we want to think back about our best moments. And I'm wondering if me explaining how Carolyn's pronunciation is written on the Dazzling Donor Sheet, I wonder if we should grab that for future generations.
Absolutely. I've been thinking about this lately, Andrew. I was watching some podcaster who was talking about clips online, and basically, like, they were thinking, I actually meant to, let's just have our TBTB meeting here, minus John. He'll hear it, though. Somebody was talking about how they were thinking, we're going to put these clips of the podcast up on the internet, and that will drive people to the show. There will be a link, and then people will watch the clip of it. Ooh, I should go check out that show. And he said, what we're realizing is the clips are the content.
Yeah, exactly.
The clips are the show. The 1 minute of somebody saying something interesting or whatever, that's the show. That's how people now experience and consume this stuff. And I don't think I have thought about it that way because I'm very, I'm from another generation, and I just think of it as like, the promo or the clip we put up on Instagram is a way to get more people to come and listen to the show and subscribe to the show or whatever. But no, that's the show to some people. So we better
but the thing is,
start delivering.
Whether let's again flag all of this as just great content. But like the problem is, if you have a traditional model, like financial model for a podcast, they're saying, well, we need to use the clips to draw people to, or drag people to the actual product, which is the show, because the show is where you have your advertisers, and like you can't monetize the clips, or you can, but it's even more difficult. And I guess the same would be true with our model too. To bring it back to the Dazzling Donors, like we don't have, if we have a little clip like you talking about boots with the fur or whatever that was that went kind of viral on TikTok a couple of years ago. The only like really kind of measurable good thing to come out of that would be if we translated any of that to actual, listeners to TBTL, as opposed to people who just saw it once and kept moving. Because otherwise, we ask people to listen to the show and then donate. Nobody's going to donate for that clip who has never heard it. Are you doing your 11/11 thing?
No, it's not that time yet.
Okay,
I'm just staring into the void while you're talking.
Okay, it's great.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like for us, I don't think the clips can be the content because we need, it can be, I guess, but we also then need to somehow get those people to either donate or, you know what I mean? Like it's not enough for us to just have people watching, our clips going viral if none of those people are being converted into potential TBTL donors, like Carolyn, not Caroline, Carolyn, who's in Edina, Minnesota. Am I saying that right? I struggle with the town of Edina.
Even in this day and age,
that's what I need the pronouncer for.
On that, even though we've discussed it a million times, but I think you got it. I'll co-sign it for now.
Hey, friendos. I'm so grateful for the Biz Boys, all three of them, and the joy they bring to our lives. It's amazing how important all of my real and parasocial 10 friends have become in my life. A special shout out to the Minnesotans, the Crafty 10s, and the Book Club 10s. My plug this year is for the newsletter. Hey, speaking of, a lot of Stewbot in the show this week, or today, rather. My plug this year is for the newsletter put out by our fellow 10, Steve, the Stewbot Newman. By the time this is read, it may be behind a paywall, but he's promised one a week will remain free. I think he's been doing that on Friday, right? Or at least he was at some point.
Fridays, yeah.
Remain free to entice you in. He started the newsletter to monetize his amazing wit after his position at Surly got eliminated. Do you think that's why he was drinking Rainier the other day?
Yes.
Was he clapping back?
He was.
My guess would be that he's on great terms.
He's on great
folks.
terms with them. It was actually kind of a complicated piece of legislation that actually impacted Surly's bottom line that ended up leading to, I think, layoffs at other local breweries as well, not just them.
I think
but
didn't
he
that
says
involve
Surly is an amazing place to work, and he has no hard feelings, if I understand it correctly.
CBD or something?
Yes.
Wasn't that?
Or actually, I believe it wasn't just CBD. I think it was something about THC that actually kind of was attached to the CBD bill, and then they repealed it. And I don't know enough about it. I'm not just trying to yada 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 over it because I don't want to get into the details. I can't get into the details. I've exhausted my knowledge.
Here's the takeaway. Stu is writing this great newsletter, Midwest Excellence. And Carolyn would like to recommend it. She says, I'm thoroughly enjoying my daily dose of snark. You can find it at midwest-excellence.ghost carb-loading.io. I know that's the link because I posted about it the other day, Andrew, on Instagram, and that's the link. Stu, can we invest in what is .ghost.io? Have you ever seen? Is that what Substacks do? Is that how Substacks do, or how newsletters do?
I'm not sure. My guess is he's not using Substack. This is probably a different newsletter thing, and maybe it's called Ghost. In fact, maybe that's where the Substack would.
Okay.
I really don't know. My assumption was that he does not want people who are afraid of ghosts reading the newsletter because he does a lot of ghost-related content, and he felt like if I put ghost in there, nobody's going to click on this who's afraid of ghosts. He doesn't want to scare anybody. That's not why he's doing it.
Even though I've told him I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Well, you're okay then. You're good. That's why you subscribe.
Newsletter. Here's what I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find out the SEO on this. Yes. Here's the thing. You can just Google Midwest Excellence Newsletter.
Okay, good.
If you're not able to keep track of midwest-excellence.ghost.io, just Google Midwest Excellence Newsletter and you will land in the right place.
Do you want an explanation, though? You are right.
Yeah.
Or I am. I can't remember which one of us said it, and it was only 10 seconds ago, so good for me.
It looks like I just
forgot. I just typed in Ghost newsletter hosting, and yes, there is something called Ghost, the best open source blog and newsletter platform. Now I'm promoting something that I'm not supposed to be promoting, but at least it explains why we have Ghost in the URL.
That's right. Everybody go over to Midwest Excellence and subscribe and support our friend the Stubot, who's been a friend and colleague for all these years. He's the best. And Caroline, thank you. Carolyn, golly.
Oh, we were so close.
I did exactly what I was trying not to do, Andrew, which is I looked at the way to not pronounce Carolyn's name. And then I said it wrong. That's on me. I mean, it's a little bit on Carolyn as well. So let's just, let's try to bring even more Midwest excellence next year, Carolyn.
Beep, beep,
you're not here for the
making fun of the dazzling donors who have donated
we're not doing
dazzling amount of money to make this show possible.
Carolyn, thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. You're the absolute best. Write the pronouncer however you want.
Please.
Maestro.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle dazzle.
Hey, it's Carolyn McManus, who's in Seattle, Washington.
Karen McManus.
That's right. Did I say Carolyn?
I think you did. I wanted to
Caroline McManus.
I purposely didn't say you're wrong or something. I just said it so that if you did say it right, I was re-emphasizing it.
No, I think I literally...
Karen McManus.
Karen. In 3, 2, 1. Karen McManus in Seattle, Washington. Karen, I'm so sorry, but thank you for the support all these years. We've been saying Karen's name for a long time, even correctly sometimes. Karen says, TBTL has been entertaining me for so long. You all feel like part of my family. You've kept me going through some of life's biggest curveballs, cancer, COVID, and the loss of some dear friends, and now this absurd presidency. Thank you so much for what you do. It truly is so important. Best, Karen. Yeah, we had a lot of time. Becca and I had a lot of time to talk on the drive down to Eugene, and I was saying, like, the amount of my brain that unfortunately is taken up with thinking about the person who's currently in the White House. It's unfortunately he's one of probably the first 3 things I think about in the morning. I don't want that to be the case, and to think about a time when that won't be the case, because that really will come, that will happen eventually, is so, I just look so forward to that. I look so forward to not having to, and there's things I could do to not give him so much real estate in my mind, and maybe I need to do that as well. But just it's a lot, as they say, Karen, and I'm glad that listening to TBTL slightly gets your mind off of that and other things that are not great to think about. And we so appreciate you. Thank you for all you've done for the show. We couldn't do this without you.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
We were going to talk about movies, but actually, let's not do that today because we're getting a little long in the tooth anyway. Let's talk, Andrew, about my first ever foray into legitimately using a large language model this weekend, and it absolutely delivering. It was so helpful, and it was so what was happening was I was sitting in bumper to bumper traffic on Saturday heading into Portland to go to this track meet. while I was also listening to the Mariners, while I was also being mad at the Mariners because they were, at that time, I guess they had given up more runs. They were losing to the St. Louis Cardinals. As we've already talked about, they eventually won the game. But what I was trying to figure out was how mad should I be at Cal Raleigh, and also how mad should I be at the Mariners bullpen? Cal Raleigh had, I think, hit into a double play when at that moment of the game, it seemed to me like hitting into that double play and clearing the bases of runners was like going to maybe mean that we don't win the game. So I'm kind of spiraling. I'm having an overly strong emotional reaction. But I'm in the car, so I can't really look. What I want to look up is Cal Raleigh playing so much worse this year than he was at the same time last year? That's what I wanted to know. Or did he get off to a slow start last year and we just forget that because he ended up playing so well throughout the rest of the season? I was trying to realize trying to understand how mad I should be at him. So I asked my phone, I asked Siri, which Siri is not, that's Apple, so I know you don't really mess with that anyway, but that's not really AI, is it? I guess it's something else. Or is
I don't know, because before everybody was talking about AI so much, when I said, and by the way, I got to be careful because I think I got some notes. I did trigger people's devices by saying the actual.
Well, sorry about
word.
that. If I started your
that's a good
device,
point.
Folks.
But for me, because mine is integrated with Google, for years now, I would be able to just say, okay, machine. I'm not saying the actual thing, but okay, machine. And then I would ask a question, right?
Yeah.
But then it would give me results from the web. So I didn't take that to be AI. I took that to be sort of a speech to text input and then, delivering out something that they found online. Now, AI is getting a lot of its information from crawling around the internet. So I don't know where the one begins and the other ends.
Right. So I didn't either. I thought, well, maybe Siri can do this. So I asked the machine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if me stopping now really helps after naming it 3 times, but I asked the machine on my phone while I was sitting in traffic, can you compare Cal Raleigh's stats this year to the same point last year?
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me a completely non-useful answer. It just started... I don't even know if it was giving me his stats from any year. It was something that didn't help at all.
Yeah.
And I thought, this might be where basically an internet search that's like voice to internet search, which is what that machine is, this experience might be really improved by actually using some kind of an AI agent. And so right there, safely, while we were stopped, I downloaded Gemini to my phone.
That one is the Google one, right?
Yes, and sorry for saying it.
No,
apologies.
I don't think that one gets. I don't know if you're joking. I think you can say the name of the product. For me, the reason I'm not saying the one is if you say okay and then the brand I'm thinking of, that is like the wake up thing. It sounds like we're in Westworld. That's what wakes them up.
It doesn't look like anything to me.
Right, exactly. I think you could just say Gemini. I don't think people are going around using that to wake up their devices. Although I guess I don't know. You might know more than I do on that.
I downloaded Gemini, and I was immediately regretful because it is in the Google universe, and that means it wanted me to log in with my Gmail, and you know how all the problems that I have, generally speaking, with my various Gmail accounts. But anyway, I got in there, and then I just hit the little microphone deal, and I just asked it. I said, hey, can you compare Cal Raleigh's stats as of current day in 2026 versus the same period last year? And it gave me the most thorough. First of all, it talked to me, which is not that impossible to believe, but I didn't even realize. I thought it was going to just give me like it was going to write it out for me. The phone just started talking to me.
First of all, it talked to me, which I just really needed in that
honestly,
moment. I just needed
Andrew,
somebody to reach out.
I'm very lonely. I'm very lonely. The phone just started talking to me, and it just started explaining exactly what I was trying to understand, which was how Cal Raleigh's performance up to this point this season compares to last year. And the answer is he has not hit nearly as many home runs. For average, he's relatively close. He wasn't hitting for a huge average last year, but he had many more home runs. He had 10. Well, I think, what does he have this year? How many home runs?
He has 6. The last I heard that I think I caught the end of the game yesterday in the car.
Yeah.
I think I heard somebody say he has 6 so far.
He hit one yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that was his 6th. I think. I'm not looking it up.
So as of yesterday, or as of Saturday, he was at 5, and the previous year he had hit 10 home runs. He was leading the American League and maybe major leagues in number of home runs in the month of April. So he was off to a pretty hot start. But again, it understood exactly what I was trying to figure out. And this is where like to try to find stats as of a certain day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as of April 25th of 2026, how does he compare to as of April 25th of 2025? Like, I don't even really know how to fully internet search that in a way that's useful without just going through some like long statistical thing where I'm going and finding that as of that date. It knew exactly what I was asking. And then, of course, because the Mariners bullpen continued to give up runs, I asked it, hey, how is the Mariners bullpen this year as of right now compared to last year as of the same period of time? And that's where it said, well, actually, the Mariners bullpen is kind of confusing because on paper they look pretty good this year, but actually they've given up some really critical runs at certain times. And it was breaking it down the way your friend who knows baseball would break it down. Like it was saying, if you just look at the raw stats, if you just look at the batting average, or whatever, like that the other teams are getting. If you look at some of the top line stats, it looks pretty similar to last year, but the numbers don't really tell the story because of these reasons and that reasons. And I was like, oh my God, don't praise the machine. This is doing exactly what I was wanting it to do. And this is vastly superior to just searching the internet for this information for me.
And take what I'm about to say in good faith because, I know I go on some pretty anti-AI rants from time to time, but like this is the kind of usage that I think we can all agree on. I mean, aside from the environmental impact, which I know a lot of people can't just like kind of toss out the window, but I'll toss it out the window now for a moment. Like this is, as far as like a technology is concerned, like I have no beef with this. Gathering, synthesizing, and offering intelligent data questions and answers is like, well, that's great. Who could have a problem with that? Again, putting aside maybe some of the other things that go along with what
move
it
over
takes
Tim
to make
Kirkjian.
But yeah, right. But my question for you is, how much do you trust those answers? Because have we double checked them? Because
no, I didn't.
Because I did.
That's
remember
a really
that
good
was
point.
my whole thing with like, hey, and it was baseball again. I was like, oh, it was last year after my baseball fantasy draft. I was like, I asked the machine, which was ChatGPT, and I typed in like, hey, how did I do? Give me a grade, and I told it what kind of a league I was in, what the rules were, and how I drafted, and they gave me this whole answer. And there was some player, actually, you know what? Maybe it was football. I can't remember, but it was like, oh, this player is injured. No, it was a starting pitcher. It was a starting pitcher, whoever it was, and they're like, well, this player is injured, so that's a curious take by you, Walsh. It calls me Walsh, and I was like, no,
bullied by the machine.
I was like, I double checked before I drafted, and I kept saying, and then everybody was like, oh yeah, but that's because the answers that ChatGPT is getting. Now, keep in mind, this is last year and a different product than you were using, and I think time is moving. I think time is changing the functionality of these things. I think they're increasing their ability to probably read what's going on right now. But I am a little bit worried about it saying, oh, and by the way, on paper it looks like that. That sounds to me like it maybe just scraped that from one particular news source or blog. I don't know, and I'm not trying to poop all over this. I'm just saying,
no. It's a good point. I
actually want it to be right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because here's what I have. I keep on thinking about. You were saying a while back, we were only like 2 weeks in the baseball season, you were talking about the ABS challenges. For folks who don't follow this, just like now, it's not just umpires who are calling balls and strikes. If a player thinks that a ball was called a strike or vice versa, they can challenge it. And if you're right, you don't lose one of your challenges. You can continue to challenge things. And I'm just deeply, deeply curious now that we're, a month plus into the season. I want to know the stats on that, and I haven't found any good simple source that says this is the number of challenges, these are the ones that where the umps were right, what percentage were upheld, what percentage were overturned, how does it break down when they're called defensively versus offensively, whether you got the bat in your hand or if you're the catcher. Like, I have a lot of questions, and it sort of seems like this should be a huge story about right now in this season with the first year that this is available. There's so much to find interesting about these numbers, but I can't find that. So if Gemini were able to break that down, I would love that.
But that's a good point. Can you believe it? And this is, this is a sort of, I don't know, me being a bit gullible, I guess. I just took what the phone was telling me as I was sitting in traffic in Battleground, Washington. I just took it to be gospel truth. And you're absolutely right. These things hallucinate. These things say, too bad they're late is a birthday card. They say stuff that's like, in fact, if it was, if I had tuned into a podcast or whatever, read an article on a blog that was written by a human and they were saying, if it was Matt Calkins writing in the Seattle Times and he said, well, the bullpen looks good or looks pretty okay on paper, but actually they're doing badly in these departments or whatever, I would probably say, well, does he know what he's talking about? Like I would be, if getting this information from a human, I would be suspicious of it. But because my phone said it to me and it was from, again, it's not the internet. I know it's a large language model, I guess, referring to the internet or referring to data.
It's getting the data from somewhere, right?
But like, because it came from the machine, I just said like, oh, well, the machine knows what it's talking about. But this is one of the cases where the machine sometimes doesn't know what it's talking about. So that's an important thing for me to also remember, because I literally had this thought, after it answered those two questions for me, I thought, well, this is where I'm going for everything now. Because that's also how my brain works. I'm like, oh, I had a good experience with this. New Luke is just using this all the time. Now, I have not used it since those two questions, so maybe I'm not going to use it all the time. But I got to really bear in mind and remember that also these things are wrong a lot. So I've got to be careful about that.
And I'm not saying that as a hater. Like, again, to be very, very clear, like, I would love it to, and I don't want to say the word again. I got through it one time without lisping or stumbling, but to synthesize Carolyn.
Karen and Carolyn.
So anyway, I hope I hope that's exactly how these tools should work.
That didn't seem like you were raining on my parade. That's actually a good reminder.
I want it to work.
You know me. There's nothing that I love more than being loud wrong and loudly trumpeting something that is incorrect, but in no way diminishes my sense of conviction around the topic. And this is a whole new world where I could be getting a lot of bad intel and then repeating it and then being loud wrong. So that's good for me to remember.
Here I go once again with the email. Every week I hope that it's from a female. Oh man, it's not from a female.
All right, let's do an email or a V-mail before we head on out. In fact, I've got one that I would love to read. I've only seen the subject line. It's from listener Ethan. And how did we get on the topic of night courts the other day, or night court?
Let's see. Well, we were definitely talking about the TV show Night Court. We're talking about bailiffs. I think this had to do with the fact, and by the way, listeners, this is still hanging over my head. I am supposedly this Wednesday, I'm sort of flagged for jury duty, or at least maybe jury duty selection. I got one confusing email from the court last week saying, like, if you don't hear anything from a judge or a bailiff, just continue on your day. If you get to the end, if you get to 4:30 p.m. on the date of your supposed jury duty, and you haven't heard from anybody, then it was just like the most confusing email. Like, when will I hear from somebody? Can I go to work on Wednesday or not? And also, I have another gig on Thursday I'm supposed to do, and I'm so confused about how this is all going to work. But so far, I have heard nothing from a judge or a bailiff, and that is the important thing.
That's what it was. It was because they literally said like the bailiff might reach out to you.
Yeah.
Which is, I didn't know that fell under the bailiffly duties. I thought that they were just there to wisecrack. And then we got on the subject of night court. And then when I was trying to look up night court as a concept, I kept just getting the TV show Night Court. And then we were wondering if that was still even a thing. And Ethan says, I was a public defender in New York City, and night court definitely still exists.
You look like a dream catcher came to life.
Sorry, I don't have it without the dream catcher part.
Honestly, it's better this way. It's an entirely new piece of art.
Yes.
Newly arrived people were arraigned either during a day shift from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. or a night shift from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Now, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. God, Christmas Eve in night court?
Yeah, there must be episodes of Night Court about the holidays, right? There must be.
Golly, that just sounds like that's not probably where I'd be wanting to spend my Christmas Eve. The legend has it, this is from Ethan's email. Legend has it that back in the day there was a third shift in Manhattan known as the lobster shift. That was gone by the time I started in 2021, though. Signed, Ethan. So, in other words, that would be like a 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift or something. That's great to have as much court going on as possible, because if you're somebody who gets in legal trouble and it's, let's say it's 4 in the afternoon. Let's say that you're a parent and you got to take care of your kids, and you get pulled over for speeding, and your license is suspended, and they got to take you in. And now you go in at 4 o'clock, and the court is done for the day, and now you've got to stay overnight in jail, and you've got to wait until the next morning, probably 10 or 11 a.m., to see a judge, so that a judge can say, all right, I'm releasing you, and you got to come back to court in a few weeks for this. Now, what happens to your kids or whatever, or what happens to your job, Like the idea that, and I'm talking about petty stuff here, not like if you were doing something violent. In that case, we should probably ask some questions about the safety of the public. But just the idea that like a kind of a dumb, petty thing doesn't necessarily mean you got to stay the whole overnight in jail. That seems like a better system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder why. I mean, New York makes sense. They must have a very, very busy court system. But you would think other cities would have it as well. Of course, like you last week when we were talking about it, I was Googling too, but I was just typing in the words night court, not like New York night court. So let me just see what happens when I type in Seattle night court, because maybe I could get jury duty on a night court. Luke.
That would be awesome. Weirdly, I don't want to be in night court like as a defendant, but I would love to be a juror in night court. That seems like that'd be a fun, sexy court to be in.
Here's a op-ed headline from, oh my goodness. This was just written up like a couple of weeks ago in The Urbanist. Op-ed, night court could help Seattle deliver timely justice. Seattle's courts face a simple challenge, more cases than available courtroom hours. So it looks like somebody is making the argument for opening up night court in Seattle, if I'm reading this correctly.
And it sounds like, based on kind of what I was saying, which is like, let's not keep people, again, nonviolent defendants, let's not keep them in jail unduly because there isn't a way to process them. Let's try to get them processed and back, dealing with whatever they're dealing with as quickly as possible.
This is actually interesting. So this is a pretty well. I mean, I don't even care if things are well written. It's well formatted, and God, do I love formatting. There's a subheading here: a proven model, Manhattan's night court. Seattle would not be the first city to explore expanded court hours. In 1907, New York City introduced one of the nation's earliest night courts in Manhattan, originally to address a practical issue. Individuals arrested after normal business hours were forced to remain in custody overnight simply because courts were closed. The results were immediate. Within the first year of operation, Manhattan's night court processed more than 46,000 arraignments in a year. Wow, representing roughly a quarter of the borough's total arraignments at that time. Then it goes on to say why night court works well and how it could be a practical step for Seattle. This is actually really interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
God, I hate it when we actually stumble on something kind of wise on this show. That is not what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, it's all thanks to listener Ethan.
Yeah, that is true. And a little bit of bull. And a little bit of okay. Do we remember the other? We had all the bailiffs.
Marsha Warfield. I don't remember Marsha Warfield's character's name. Roz. I think Roz.
Roz. Right. Exactly.
And then wasn't there a third one too?
I think Selma. Selma was.
I don't know if I remember.
I
Selma.
think she was the first. I think Roz or Bull replaced her in later seasons. I believe. I believe it was like sort of on Cheers, sort of a Coach Woody situation.
Oh yeah. No, I recognize Selma. Selma Diamond. Played by the gravel-voiced, chain-smoking bailiff. Selma Hacker.
Yeah, I was going to say you would recognize her voice immediately. So,
I love that they decided to go with her real name was Selma, and they named the character Selma.
And it fits, right? You're like, well, she definitely plays a Selma, I would say.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks, Ethan. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that was good.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things on up for today. I know you've got dogs to dad, and I've got live wires to record, and
I think we're going to go to
watch later.
I think we're going to go to the hardware store again today. I actually have a bunch of stuff on the list, and she enjoyed it last time, so it's time to put her in the cart and drive her around.
Feel free to send pics.
I will.
Or video.
Honestly, I'm trying not to overwhelm people with pictures of the puppy.
I've told you this before. It's not overwhelming to me.
Okay.
It fills me with joy.
All right, good.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. That's going to do it for today's episode, but we will be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. So come on by for that. In the meantime, have a great Monday. Take care of yourselves. Go Mariners. Go Jalapenos as well. Mm-hmm. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
Okay. And good luck to all.
Power out.